Now, I know I went on for a while. Is there anything either of you want to chime in on what I just said?
So medically retired, does that mean that, okay, so you get retired from the military. Does that mean you also get retirement pay regardless of what age you are? Like, does it accelerate what would have been retirement pay? If that, did I ask that question the right way?
So here's military medical retirement, also known as disability retirement or Chapter 61 retirement, is when a service member is deemed unfit for duty due to a medical condition and is retired from the military. To qualify, the service member must have a disability rating of at least 30%. Now, ironically, well, maybe not ironically, it's probably a good thing, the military, the DoD, utilizes the same schedule of ratings as the VA does for all of their conditions that they rate you for. It's just a much smaller list because not every condition is going to get you, quote unquote, out of the military, right? Some things you can manage and still stay in. So if you have a rating that's at least 30%, and they're deeming that that's going to make you unfit for duty, they're going to do that. And then what's going to happen is it states here anyway that unlike VA disability benefits, which most of us are aware of, military medical retirement is not something a service member can apply for on their own. Instead, their service will evaluate their health problem, rate their disability, and determine if they're eligible. So what they're going to do is they're going to push you out the door. And now that you're retired, they're treating you at that point from a retirement standpoint the same as the person who got out 20 years ago. From my knowledge, you're going to start to receive your retirement check and so forth. And then depending on where you live, right, this is why retirement is such a big deal on where you live in what state, because some states are going to tax it, some aren't, some are going to tax part of it. Is there anything you wanted to add, Randy?
No, location matters. You're right. I mean, here in Colorado, after a certain point, there is some tax on military pay, if I remember my numbers correctly. In other states, like where I'm originally from, I'm from the state of Washington, there is no income tax at all. So it does matter. That's really the only thing I've got for you on that. It can matter on the VA side. Of course, it's not, but on the military side, it is. So.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Cool. So, I'm just going to jump into this little announcement from the U.S. Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs regarding the Major Richard Starr Act, which is the piece of legislation that is going in to basically bring medically retired individuals into the same fold as your standard retired individual, right? Making it to where they can receive both VA and disability compensation and their retirement concurrently if they're over that 50% mark. So I'm just going to read through. I'm going to kind of just fly through most of it here and then just get your thoughts. So remember that this bill has been in existence for a while and it kind of stalled out, and now they're looking to try to move it into another body and get it added in. So let's read it. Tester joins veterans to urge Congress to include the Major Richard Starr Act in a must-pass defense bill. Tester announces he will file the Major Richard, important piece, announces he will file the Major Richard Starr Act as an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act. Tester's bipartisan legislation would address long-standing injustice by delivering combat-injured veterans their full military benefits. Senate Veterans Affairs Committee Chairman John Tester joined today with veterans and veteran service organizations, and today was, several days ago, July 10th, and with also service organizations to urge Congress to put combat-injured veterans first and adopt his Major Richard Starr Act as an amendment to the annual must-pass defense bill, the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA. Tester announced he is planning to file this bipartisan bill to deliver combat-injured veterans their full military benefits as an amendment to the NDAA this week with U.S. Senator Mike, and Crapo, whatever, I don't know, that guy. there's a quotation here. Generation after generation, Americans have stepped up and served their country with a solemn promise that if they come home changed by their service, we would take care of them, said Tester. But for combat injured veterans that were forced to retire before completing 20 years of service, their government is currently failing to deliver on that promise. Congress has the opportunity to do the right thing for these veterans and their families by setting up a vote to adopt the Major Richard Starr Act as an amendment to the NDAA to finally fix this unfair policy and provide medically retired combat veterans their full military benefits. I'm going to read one more piece here. And then we'll pass it around. Tester continued, we need to live up to the promises we've made our fighting men and women, and I urge each and every one of my colleagues to put veterans first and party politics last. To get this bill included in the NDAA, our nation's combat injured veterans and their families are counting on it, and they deserve nothing less.